Tease the opportunity here of to talk about the players that maybe the Cowboys shouldn't want to draft. And this comes from our friends over at Blogging the Boys, Dan Rogers. And, we all go through this draft. We all have our pet cats. And then guys that we're like, we talk about the pin throw. We act like, oh, geez, I'm really upset. But you're happy that guy's off the board. I think that's where we're at right now here with Dan Rogers. And he puts out 3 names that he doesn't want to be heard that the Cowboys call for this draft. And I'll run
These
through.
would be your taco picks of the decade?
Well, this will be interesting because I'm trying to be fair about this. I'm trying to be fair because there are people that these are kind of guys that might be polarizing or they just don't feel like that they're going to be great players. And so Dan wrote about him, so I want to talk about him and just trying to give the other side of the story here. And first one is Bijan Robinson. He says, this is weird because Robinson is one of the top talents in this draft class. The chances of him even making it to 26 seem rather slim. It's so odd to get upset about a player who's probably too good to be available when the Cowboys are on the clock. And if he's there, it would seem like the obvious choice, especially when the team just released Ezekiel Elliott and has only Tony Pollard for one more season as he's playing under a franchise tag. Last night we had Brian Baldinger on the Love of the Star podcast.
Oh, good get.
Thank you. Bobby and Peyton do a great job with that. And he was talking about how excited Philadelphia would be at 10. And we were kind of going back and forth. Like, I asked him about that. It's like, how can one franchise be so excited about it and then one franchise be so scared or not wanting it to happen? And I think it has to do with the running back, with the pay, which you guys have been talking.
It's absolutely how they paid Ezekiel Elliott.
And I think that Baldy agreed with that.
Well, they're used to getting great value from low-paid running backs.
Yeah.
They probably think paying a guy $12 million will give him the next Barry Sanders or something.
They also have 2 first-round picks to create an idea that, hey, we can make a luxury sort of pick like this might be. And as dependent as a running back is on an offensive line, you're drafting a running back now, and you have the best offensive line in the sport.
Yeah.
So you feel like you, of all teams, will get the most out of him. Plus, you have the running quarterback, and you already got a really good passing game. So I understand why they would think it makes a little bit more sense for them than Cowboys fans do.
Baldy says, he lives there in Philly, and he says they're lining up.
They're gung-ho about it.
They're gung-ho about, let's go get Bijan Robinson.
Peter King got him fired up today, too. He was talking about it. He was like, yeah, I'd take Bijan.
Yeah, well, and again, the argument against Robinson isn't so much due to the player himself. It is the idea that the team could find a quality running back later
100%.
in the draft without having to use a top resource on one. We all want the team to get the most out of the draft, and that concept seems to dissipate if the Cowboys kick things off with a running back at 26. So that was the number 1 guy. The number 2 guy would be tight end Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. And he says this one is very similar to the last one because of grabbing a top tight end immediately replenishes one of their biggest offensive voids with the departure of Dalton Schultz, who left in free agency. Additionally, it's another choice where positional value isn't strong, so it raises the question of whether or not it's the best choice for the pick. So he's also saying the draft class does feature some talented tight ends at the top of the draft, and it would be nice to have one of those guys. But does it warrant the 26th pick?
I think so. Yeah, 26 isn't too great of a pick. You're playing in that area where tight end would be a good pick if he's a good player.
Yeah, it's all about hitting it. But I think the positional value for tight end is pretty high, and I think it's only getting higher as the NFL continues to evolve and with the way defenses are playing you. So if you're getting a tight end that hits in a huge way, that is, there's almost no better advantage other than having in terms of one singular player other than a quarterback. Like if you have a freak show legit tight end, I think you are cooking with gas, man.
Yeah, the same argument applies for the tight end that it does with the running back, where the majority of the really good ones were mid-round picks, and so you can find a tight end later. To me, it's like, all right, don't take a running back. You can find one later. Don't take a tight end. You can find one later. How about we skip the 26th pick? I just want to draft a good football player. I really don't care about the positional value at 26. You're not picking 4. You're picking 26 at the back of the first round. If Bijan's there, sign me up. I don't think he's going to be there. If Mayer is the best player on their board at tight end, I like him. Take him.
Yeah. It sounds like Wolchuk wants a fight to me, guys.
No, he's good, man.
We're just feeling game.
I sense that.
We're
I
good.
sense
We're
that.
good here. Yeah, we're good.
It's just like you can definitely point out the positional value reasoning for, I think, a lot of these positions. Guard. Why are you taking a guard in the first round? So let's just not take a player then, right? Take somebody that you like, that you think's good. I just want to draft a good football player. I don't care what position he's playing.
Unless it's long
Except
snapper.
Hell, yeah, take a kicker.
Or kicker.
Yeah, take a punter.
The Raiders did that one year. Sebastian Janikowski.
And it worked out.
I never forget that.
It worked out.
I'll never forget
20
that
years
draft.
later, Janikowski was still there, baby.
I asked Gruden.
Talk about value.
Yeah.
Gruden was head coach at the time, and I called him up. I'm like, bro, you just took a kicker, and he goes, I know. And I'm like, well,
That was shocking.
he was kind of happy about it. I was like,
Was
man,
he at Hooters when you called him?
I don't know. He wasn't in the bag.
Was he at Hooters?
He was good. But the Cowboys also, like I say, they have Jake Ferguson, Peyton Hendershot on the roster, so it's not likely they're in dire straits at the position.
Yeah.
Finally, the tight end position that typically comes with a little bit more of a learning curve, so we shouldn't expect immediate contributions from a rookie tight end, regardless of how early he's selected. Oddly enough, by the way, just to let you guys know, NFL mock draft database has both Robinson and Mayer as the players with the highest percentage of the Cowboys most likely selecting at 26.
Ooh.
Seems to be a lot of momentum in it. It will be exciting, just take your shot at one of these game breakers. They are rare. So just make sure he's got a high floor. We can't go bust Ola on this pick at 26 because the need for a guard is real.
Okay, well, here you go. Here you go. The Cowboys, here's the third player, Steve Avila, from TCU. You can argue that the team's most pressing need is at left guard, as they have lost both Connor Williams and Connor McGovern in free agency in the last 2 seasons. Last year's first-round pick, Tyler Smith, could be an option at left guard, but eventually his services will be needed on the outside. Finding good interior offensive linemen is necessary for this team at some point. So why the lollygagging? I like that word.
The lollygagging.
Avila is one of the team's 30 visits. He possesses the strength and flexibility the team loves to go after, so it makes sense the Cowboys are interested. The drawback is he's stacked outside the top 40 players in terms of average draft position. So taking him that early would not be a good use of draft resources, right?
Yeah.
Unless that's the scouting department sees differently than they did a year ago with Smith. So he's talking about not taking a guard there or taking that particular player.
Well, I don't like him because he doesn't love football.
Does bug me a little bit.
I need a guy in the first round that
You need a guy watching those
is the
NFL
real
games
deal.
every week.
Yeah, my pet cat though, he gained a little extra weight. I started letting him outdoors, and he's now hunting mice, bringing them back on the patio, and he's probably dropped 4 pounds in 2-3 months. Just a tip there for you and your pet cats.
On that carnivore diet.
That carnivore diet. But yeah, that's where we're at. But three players that are obviously in the Cowboys area of potential draft guys that people seem to be very excited about. But again, blogging the boys say otherwise there.